everyone, it's Nico and welcome back to the channel. This video is supported by all these amazing brands that help keep the channel going. Big thanks to all of them for their continued support. And a special thanks to spraygunner.com. They've got everything for airbrushing, from top-of-the-line airbrushes to high-quality paint brands. This project was a pretty big one for me, literally and figuratively. I'll walk you through my thought process. The overall plan for the build, this was about pushing my limits and creating something that feels like an evolved version of the strike. More refined, more detailed, and built with everything I've learned so far. So let's get into it. So the kit I used is the 1:60 big scale strike Gundam. It's an old kit released around 2002, which, funny enough, makes it older than me. I've actually had it sitting in my backlog for a couple of years now. Originally, I really wanted to work on the big scale extra, since that was the kit my dad used for his world champion Bangkok entry back in 2008. I thought it would be a cool way to do my own version of that legacy, but I couldn't find one anywhere. This strike, on the other hand, was something I got through a Gunpla hunting service. I never really touched it, it just sat there unopened, and I couldn't even use it for most competitions because I didn't have the valid receipts or proof of purchase. So when I started thinking about what kit to use for my Tetsujin 2025 entry, I decided I did not want to spend anything on a new one. I challenged myself to choose something from my backlog. At first, I was planning to do Calamity's Pinkman, which is a resin kit, very different from what I usually build. But resin kits aren't allowed in Tetsujin, so that plan had to go. Then my dad suggested something that just made sense. Why not use the big scale strike? He reminded me that I'm a Gunpla modeler and that I'm known for Gunpla builds, and that maybe I should lean into that, into doing what I know best. So that's how I ended up picking this kit, an old, basic, out of the box strike that I was about to turn into something entirely new. So of course, I had to do a diorama for this kit, like I always do for competition entries. But for this build, I made a conscious decision not to pour 100% of my energy into it. The reason is because I'm also working on my GBWC entry at the same time. And between the two, GBWC is definitely my main priority. After losing last year, I've been really motivated to push harder for this year's competition, and I want to pour everything I've got into that build. So I knew from the start that if I pushed myself just as hard on this Tetsujin entry, I'd risk burning out completely. And honestly, that wouldn't be healthy. That's why I told myself that for this build, I'm just going to enjoy the process. No pressure, no overthinking. I'll still give it my best, of course, but I won't push myself past my limits. I wanted this one to be more relaxed, just something fun. And that mindset also shaped the direction I took for the diorama. Compared to my past contest builds, which usually have layered storytelling or more elaborate setups, this one is a lot simpler. I decided to go with a straightforward hangar base, with the Strike Gundam standing right in the center. Clean, structured, and neatly framed. Nothing too dramatic, just a solid scene that puts focus on the kit itself. Another big factor in choosing this approach was the fact that I'm flying with the build. I don't know if I've said this before, but traveling with a custom piece really stresses me out. Packing, securing everything, hoping nothing breaks, it's just not something I enjoy. I don't think anybody enjoys that. So I needed a diorama that was compact and durable, with no fragile or finicky elements. With a hanger base, I can just box it up and tuck it inside my luggage without worrying too much. In fact, I actually measured the base before even building it, just to make sure I'd have packaging that could fit it properly. That extra planning made things a lot less stressful, and honestly, I think it was the right call for a project like this. I think this year marks my fourth year joining Gunpla competitions, but it's actually my first time entering Tetsujin. And something I've always done before every single contest is set a clear goal. For the past 3 years, my goal was simple: win gold at GBWC. I worked hard for that, and I'm proud to say I've been able to achieve it twice. For GMKC, I had a different mindset. I just wanted to land a podium finish. Even though I entered with a kit painted using water-based acrylics up against builds finished with lacquer paints, I ended up getting silver, which honestly I was really happy with. Having a goal going into any competition helps me focus. It gives me an idea of how hard I need to work, how far I should push myself, and what I need to prioritize. It's a way for me to stay grounded. So for Tetsujin, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't use my full energy into this build. I wanted to enjoy the process without burning out, and because of that, I don't think it's realistic or fair to aim for a podium finish this time. A lot of top builders are flying to Singapore to compete, and honestly, the level of talent showing up makes it feel like a world championship already. That said, my goal is to at least bag one of the special awards. That would mean a lot to me. Since it's my first time joining Tetsujin, I don't know exactly what to expect or who I'm up against. I haven't really seen much of the entries or the scene yet, so this year is definitely a learning experience. After the contest, I'm sure I'll have a much better idea of what I'm up against if I decide to join again next year. So alright, enough yapping about that. Let's talk about the kit itself. Like I said earlier, this is a big scale 1 is to 60 strike Gundam, part of Bandai's old 1 is to 60 line before they started releasing perfect grades, if I'm not mistaken. So what that means is, it's basically just a big high grade kit. It's a super simple kit, few parts, no inner frame, barely any articulation, and not much detail. And no fancy features, of course. It honestly just looks like a big toy, with all the rounded shapes and soft edges, kind of like a giant action figure. So yeah, I had my work cut out for me. That said, I also did not want to spend too much time on this build. From start to finish, including the diorama, I think it took me around 45 days to complete everything. The plan was pretty straightforward. Turn this oversized toy into something that actually looks like a refined, detailed version of the Strike Gundam. So that meant sharpening the edges on the armor pieces, fixing the awkward proportions, especially the height, and splitting up armor panels to make the surface more dynamic. I added pla plate, custom panel lines, and all the usual detailing work to push the realism as much as I could, without going overboard. I actually had a lot of fun working on this custom. It's been a while since I was able to just sit down and do what I want with the kit. Before this, most of my time was spent on commissions, so this felt like a nice break. I think when it comes to my style of customizing, it's always been about adding detail without changing the identity of the kit. Like, yeah, I'll do some kit bashing or reshape certain parts, but the base kit should still be instantly recognizable. If I were customizing a Sinanju, for example, it would still look like the Sinanju from the anime. Maybe with a new side skirt or a longer fin, or a few tweaks here and there. And sometimes, because of that approach, people don't immediately realize I've done custom work. That actually happened with my GBWC entry last year. I customized the PG Unleash, but it's already such a detailed kit that I think the judges might not have noticed the changes I made. And hey, that's on me. But that's part of the risk when your style leans more toward refinement than full transformation. With Tetsujin though, that's one of the things I'm excited and honestly nervous about. The judges this year are Naoki, Eric Yap, and Iday Nang, all incredible modelers in their own right. And the thing about having judges who are also builders is they kinda know what to look for. They understand subtle detailing, craftsmanship, and effort in a way only fellow modelers can. So yeah, that makes Tetsujin feel extra nerve-wracking. I'm especially nervous because I'm a huge fan of Eric Yap. I've talked about this numerous times before in my videos, and I actually met him back in 2020 at Tetsujin as well before I joined my first GBWC, and he actually gave me a ton of advice that I applied to my first competition piece. So now, knowing he's going to see this build up close and judge it, well, yeah, I'm probably going to hide somewhere during judging, and I'm not even kidding. I ended up not filming much of the diorama process. Not because I did not want to share it, but mostly because I usually work on it late at night. By then, I just want to relax and build without having to set up lights, adjust angles, or hit record. It's my downtime, so I treated this part of the project like that. The main structure is built from styrofoam and pla plates. I usually lean more toward terrain style dioramas or a mix of terrain and a little bit of hangar, so this was actually my first time doing a full hangar base. It's kind of funny because I always felt like hangar dioramas have already been done to death. And so many builders do them, and doing something original within that theme and winning with it is really tough. But again, since my goal this time wasn't a podium finish, I just went for it. A full hanger base it is. And honestly, it was really relaxing to do. Lots of cutting, shaving, cementing pla plates together. It's almost mindless work in the best way. It felt good to just zone out and build. That said, I kept having to remind myself that it's okay to use materials. I tend to treat stuff like pla plates, masking tape, and putty like they're precious, or use as little, like I need to save them or use as little as possible. But the truth is, I have these materials to use them. They're not for display, they're for building. And if I run out, I can just buy more. So yeah, this diorama was a good reminder for me, not just about technique, but about mindset. Use the tools and materials you've got. That's what they're there for. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, my personal goal for this build was to get the cleanest paint job I could possibly manage. Normally, I like to play around with shading or modulation when I paint, but for this project, I decided to take a step back and go for a flat, clean finish instead. Instead of focusing on style or how many colors I could use, I really wanted to push myself in terms of precision, how flawless I could get each surface to look. Clean separation, no overspray, no rough edges. This was also my first time trying out Gaia Notes paints, and honestly, I fell in love at first use. The way it flows, the coverage, the finish, I just have no comments about it. Days after using it, I couldn't stop thinking about Gaia Notes. I even found myself browsing online trying to find local sellers here in the Philippines. But it's tough. No one really stocks them here, or I haven't found them. So if I spot any Gaia Notes while I'm in Singapore for Tetsujin, you can bet I'm grabbing a few bottles to bring home. Let's just hope they don't get confiscated at the airport. Anyway, since the goal was a super clean finish, I also changed up my usual process. Normally, for small color separations, I just hand paint those areas. But this time, I went all in on masking, even the tiniest sections, just to avoid any brushstrokes. I didn't want to risk even the slightest imperfection showing through, especially knowing who the judges are for this contest. I'm definitely happy with how the paint job turned out. I mean, sure, I know I can still do better, but given the time I had, this is as good as it gets for now. I'm satisfied with it, and for my next build, I'll definitely aim for something even cleaner. For the water slide decals, I used a sheet meant for the PG Strike Gundam, since there's really nothing made specifically for the big scale version. Luckily, the proportions are close enough that the decals still work visually, and I was able to pick and place the ones that match the look I wanted. So yeah, that's the build. Honestly, I had a lot of fun with this one. It was just refreshing to work on a kit the way I wanted, without overthinking or burning myself out. Sure, it's not my most complex or detailed build ever, but I think it turned out really clean, and that was the main goal for me this time. It's also my first time joining Tetsujin, so I'm excited to see what it's like. I've got no clue what the other entries will look like or who I'm up again, but that's part of the fun. And hey, with judges like Naoki, Eric Yap, and Iday Nang, you know they're going to spot every little thing, so that's both exciting and terrifying. Either way, I'm just happy I finished it, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's work. If I walk away with a special award, that's awesome. But if not, I still had a good time building this strike and finally getting it out of the backlog. So it's been a while since I did a video like this, since most of my recent stuff has been tutorials. So I hope you enjoyed this one for a change. It was nice to just talk about a build and share the process with you guys again. And I definitely got more coming soon. I'll be vlogging my whole stay in Singapore for Tetsujin. So if you want to see what it's like behind the scenes at the event, make sure to stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of cool content dropping here on the channel. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye! Oh, and by the way, check out these other videos.